Young Saudi men are romantic indeed. Actually, they don't go boo-boo over any movie, they just like watching films in general. But since you were talking about Titanic, You've Got Mail, and The Holiday, I assume that you know that these movies are typical Western love stories. According to you, Saudi men go boo-boo over these movies. Then this must mean that they do like the way that women are treated within the Western terms of respect, right? Now, if they like lying around and watching talk shows like Oprah and Dr. Phil in their free time, this must mean that they are familiar with the Western culture and the Western way of thinking. Western people are not at all familiar with the Eastern culture because they don't get to see translated talk shows and so on. The only stuff they get to see are the bad things that are happening in the Muslim community because only that would be worth a headline or something to mention in the news. The fragment that you showed us about the so-called Saudi doctors teaching young men the correct way to beat their wives, that is just a little fragment. Where is the link so all of your viewers can see the whole show as a proof that this is an accurate evidence? I know the West likes to think that Muslim women get beaten up by their husbands all the time, but I'm sorry to tell you this, my husband has never beaten me. Ever. My sisters, my nieces, my friends, my aunts, and my mother have never been beaten either. We all got respected instead. I won't say that there are no Muslim men beating their wives because there are probably a lot of Muslim men abusing their wives. I don't doubt that, but I also recognize the fact that at least as many Western men are abusing their wives in various ways. Check all of the newspapers in the United States. Violence against women is everywhere. You claim that Saudi women cannot drive, and yes, it's true. But this is never mentioned in the Quran. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that every Muslim has to teach his child how to ride a horse. Since we are 2010 and horses are no longer a primary method to travel, this could be translated as driving a car. We can never ever change what is in the Quran, but the meaning is clear. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ meant that every Muslim should teach his child how to be able to transport themselves when necessary. Sheikh Ayat al-Karni, a Saudi Islamic teacher known for his mild views, has said that neither the Quran nor the Sunnah prohibits women from driving, and that it is better for a woman to drive herself than to be driven by a stranger without a legal escort. And aren't you oppressed? How long has it been that you women couldn't vote over there? How long has it been that it was forbidden for black people like yourself to even sit on a bus? And now you are going to defend a system that has screwed your nation for years? Have you even forgotten where you come from? Because I sure haven't. And whenever a man thinks that he is superior to a woman in any kind of way, this means that he hasn't studied the Quran nor the Islam very well. The Quran says that the woman was made from the rib of a man. She was not created from his head to top him, not from his feet to be stepped upon, but she was made from his side to be close to him, from beneath his arm to be protected by him, and near his heart to be loved by him. The Prophet ﷺ said, your duty is to feed your wife when you eat yourself, provide her some clothes when you buy clothes for yourself, and do not punch her in the face, do not abuse her, and do not isolate yourself in times of discontent. If men and women were able to freely communicate with each other, this would lead to dating several people to get to know each other. In Muslim communities, it is very common that the parents have a potential spouse in mind, and if you agree with their choice, you get married to the person they chose for you. But is that really such a bad thing, considering the fact that your parents know you better than anyone else ever could? They do get to see what they look like before the wedding night, and most of the time, they even get the chance to get to know each other. They are never alone until they get married, that is a fact. But is that really necessary to get to know somebody? You say there is no such thing as worship. There is a thing called worship, and it is very present in Muslim communities. Of course, you have to be married to call your wife or to send her flowers, but isn't that normal? If I just randomly got phone calls or flowers from guys, I would change my phone number and my way of behaving. But then again, I love to receive flowers, chocolates, jewels, and any kinds of gifts from my loving husband. Valentine's Day has been outlawed since it's seen as a pagan holiday. A lot of atheists, Christians, and Jews do not see Valentine's Day as a holiday neither. I don't need Valentine's Day for my husband to show me he loves me. Every day is Valentine's Day in my world. So I don't think anybody lies awake at night thinking about the fact that Valentine's Day has been outlawed. Don't worry, dear. And Saudi men were arrested for flirting with girls at the mall. Immediately after you said that, you asked what most of the teenagers in the USA would do on a Saturday afternoon if hanging with girls at the mall was outlawed. Good question. It's very, very simple. Maybe they would be studying so they achieve knowledge. Or maybe they would be practicing sports so they wouldn't be as fat as they are right now. Or maybe they would just learn how to not dress inappropriate all the time. But oh, how could I know, right? And may I add that the Torah and the Bible also disapprove sexual contact before marriage. So we're not the only ones forbidding it. You guys have adjusted your religion so it would be easy to be a believer. But I don't see many believers out there anymore. All I see is atheists, non-believers. To you people, God is money and God is capitalism. You people think you are free because you can do anything you want in your so-called democratic country. Newsflash, you are not free. So you think you're free by dressing sexy and going to the mall to seduce and flirt? Honey, what kind of woman does that make you? Talk about homosexual affairs. Homosexual affairs are committed by men who are not Muslims. If they were, they wouldn't even think about doing such things. The Saudi men who have sexual affairs with each other are very depressed indeed. But why are you making such a big deal out of it, since gays are practically allowed to get married in the West? Isn't a homosexual common to you? You also say that the Saudis have based their religious beliefs on their primitive traditions, but there is a huge difference between traditions and religion. You say Saudi men are taught from birth that they must avoid dishonoring their families with their own behavior. Let's have a chat about America. How come that a servant of the military cannot be homosexual? Oh, excuse me, it's not a problem if they're gay, but they just cannot say it out loud, otherwise they get dismissed. Isn't that a primitive thing according to your point of view? In other words, they must avoid dishonoring America with their own behavior. Ironic, isn't it? And last but not least, I'm wishing you the best of luck on your mission trying to liberate Saudi men. Peace to the Middle East.